Welcome to the Embracing Singleness podcast with your host, my sister, Elder Prophetess Shameka Bowers. The purpose of this podcast is to change the perception of being saved and single from being an obstacle to being a blessing, while embracing our singleness to help build functional relationships as Christ so desires. So again, let's welcome our host, Prophetess Shameka Bowers.
Welcome back to the podcast of Embracing Singleness. We are now on week number 4 out of the 5 series of the 5-part series of what it takes. It's kind of like the prerequisite of embracing singleness. So if you have not watched or listened to podcasts 1 through 4, please go back so that you're not lost. So we have discussed where am I? Who am I? What? The simple question of what, which is not so simple. Please check the last podcast. And now we are on the question of why. If you're a parent, your kid asks you why all the time. Why? Like, why is the sky blue? Why is such a complex question? And if you ask why long enough, you'll probably get stumped somewhere and have to do some research. So the question I am asking you on this week is why? Why are you the way you are? Why am I the way I am? Right? Have you learned? Have you figured that out yet? After the past few weeks, hopefully you've got a little bit more insight on who you are, where you are, what you want. Now, why? Why am I this way? If you are joining this podcast because you desire at one point in life, at some point when God says it's time to be in a relationship, whether that relationship, friendship, any other ship other than situationships, as I told you before, we're not doing that in this season. Why? Ask yourself why. Why do you want a new friend? Why do you want to get married? Why do you want it? A lot of us, and I'm going to say women, I don't necessarily know a lot of men that focus on the wedding. Us women tend to do that. We are so big on getting married just because we want to be at the wedding, and we never really focus on what it takes to be married. I know people who've had extravagant weddings and didn't make it 1 year. I know people who did a small intimate wedding and has made it for years. So we can't focus on the wedding. So I want you to ask why. Why do I want to be married? Why do I want a wife? Why do I want a husband? Men, why do you want a wife? Is it just to have someone to cook for you, to clean for you, arm candy? Is that why? Why? Ladies, are you wanting to be married just because society says you are over 20 years old and you should be married by now? Why? Are you wanting to get married because all your friends are married and you're the single one? Why? You have to be able to answer those questions. Because at some point we try to attract people to do a checklist. These are things that I want to be done that I want by the time I'm 30 years old. And then if you haven't checked it off for some reason, you think that you failed in life. Listen, it doesn't matter when you get it done, just as long as you are meeting the goal that you desire. If you want to be a homeowner, if you're not a homeowner till you're 40, at least you've done it. If that's what you want to do. Ask yourself why. Why? Why do I want this? Because if it's not something that you genuinely want, and you're simply just doing it because society says that's what you're supposed to do, you're going to be miserable. It's a momentary happiness moment. Why? Can you answer it? If I was sitting beside you now and the very thing that you are praying for and asking God for, if I asked you why do you want that? Can you genuinely tell me? Or is it just something that you were conditioned to want, and it says something's wrong with you if you don't want that? Why? Take myself for instance. I never envisioned a wedding. I never envisioned being married. I never envisioned any of that. And then because I didn't know who I was not honest about where I was in life, and I didn't know my why. I didn't know my what. I ended up being in a situation that matured me beyond time, of where I was supposed to be. I ended up being a mother, and then if you were raised in a Christian household and having children out of wedlock, that was so tabooed. But I still, even with the children, I didn't have a vision of being married. Now that I am older and I have raised my children, I was able to answer a lot of questions, which gives me peace about the decisions that I make in my life. So, am I ready for marriage now? Sure. If that is something that can help me grow and help me do ministry, I do now desire that, because I am in ministry. And being a single woman in ministry, I still have a flesh. So therefore, I can't fall subject to my flesh. So I need my husband. I need my helpmate. I want to get to a higher level in ministry, and God did not create us to do all of this alone. Not saying that you have to be married, but typically you'll find a friend, you'll find someone in ministry. Whatever your goal is, you'll find something in common with someone else who can help you get to where you desire to be. So now that I was very clear on what I wanted, I know for me, I personally said, God, let me raise my children so that I can focus on them and be the best mother that I can be. And when I get them raised and get them to adulthood, at that point in time, send me my husband. Because at that point in time, I want to be the very best wife that I can be, where I can focus on my husband. And I was very clear in that. And although I am come March, I'll be 46, but I'm 45 now. And you can't make me feel bad about not being married yet. Why? Because I know who I am, what I want, where I am in life, and I know the reasons behind the things that I want. So therefore, you just have to be confident in who you are. So ask yourself, whatever it is that you're praying for, why do I want that? Why do I want that? Okay? Why? Why? Yes, I'm giving you a moment to be able to answer that question. So while you're sitting there and you're thinking about the why, is it that you want a particular thing in your life, you also need to understand why you operate and why you move the way that you do. Because if you don't know that, then when that time comes and there's kind of a clash, you'll be crying. And you ever had a child and they're crying? With me, I've had it in adults, and they're crying. You're like, what are you crying for? Why are you crying? I don't know. That we can't do that as adults. We can't do that in healthy and mature relationships. You need to know why. Why does this make you cry? Why is this a trigger for me? Why do I react like this? Why do I get so emotional? You need to know the why of who you are, so that you can articulate that into the next relationship, the next realm of your life, the next level. You need to know why. About you. I'm talking to you about you. It's not a big puzzle. It's just you. Why? Why do I love the way I love? Why do I feel this way? If you joined us on our last podcast, there was a question of just what is your love language? Right? Sometimes it's hard for us to figure that out because we don't know why we do the things we do. We don't know why we love the way we love. We don't know why we receive different type of love, because you just don't know. You're accepting everything that comes your way. And you're not a doormat. You're not a trash can. You are created with a purpose, on purpose. So you have to understand your why, on why you move this way, why you speak this way, why you react this way. Why do I want this? Why do I want that? Why do I want you? Those are things that you have to be able to be honest and truthful with yourself so that you can be honest and truthful with everyone else around you. Here's the thing. We try to fit into places, relationships where we don't belong. Where the truth is, if you know and are able to tell yourself and ask yourself the questions, the hard questions, you will be able to be yourself. And guess what? The right ones, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, professional, the ones that are meant for you is going to adore you for you just simply being you. You don't have to put on a mask. You don't have to put up a cover up. If you're having a bad day, you can say, I'm having a bad day because, and be able to talk that out, walk that out so that your day can be prosperous and you're maneuvering in a positive manner, although there may be negative things happening around you. If you know who you are, what makes you tick, why you want the things you want, and where you are mentally, you can have a positive day even when everything else around you is falling apart because you know who you are. You're steady. You're stable because you know the questions about you. Embracing singleness is just embracing where you are in life. Because guess what? If you're like me and eventually you desire to be married, so guess what? If I can embrace my singleness, I can also embrace marriage. I can embrace ministry. I can embrace wherever I am currently standing. Whatever position I am playing at that moment, in that time, I can embrace it and embrace it well, and I will make it look good on me. Why? Because I know who I am. I know what makes me tick. I know what makes me feel loved. I know what makes me scared. I know what I just know my emotions. I know why I am the way I am. So that is what I want you to focus on this week. Again, write it down in your journal. Write it down in your journal. This is for you. This is to help you along your journey. So let's recap. First week, where am I? Where am I emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, and mentally? Where am I? Once you're able to tackle that, you're going to say and be able to answer, who am I? Not the descriptive words. I told you that it's not the color of your skin or your job titles. It is actually about who you are, what you represent. If you died today, what would they say about you at your funeral? Are you a chameleon? Who are you? Who are you? Then you're going to be able to ask the question of what? What? What are my roles? What are my responsibilities? What do I want in this relationship? What do I want in this friendship? What do I want in life? And then you'll be able to ask yourself and answer why. Okay? So journal that. And then on next week, we will wrap up this 5-part series. And then we will talk about when. And if you're like us, I think there's a saying, they say, I'm like a kid on Christmas morning waiting for the when, and we're going to help you get there. So until next week, please journal, please dig deep, And remember that God is the greatest power and you are not defeated.
You have been listening to the Embracing Singleness podcast with Prophetess Shameka Bowers. We ask that you follow us on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.